I'd like to introduce Fiona from England, who takes LDN for ME/CFS. Welcome, Fiona.
Thank you.
Could you tell me when you first started to notice your symptoms?
Yes, I fell ill with the ME following shingles in December 2002.
Right.
Okay, so everything stems from that really. I have quite a long story where I had a persistent annual decline where I did all the pacing and rest, and I'd pick up, plateau out for a while, then somehow in the spring, summer, or autumn, whatever that year, I'd relapse, and I'd end up at a worse level than the year before, and I'd pick up but never to the previous year's functioning, so that kept happening basically. So yeah, I've got quite a long story really.
Okay, well, take your time and talk us through it.
Right, okay. At my worst, the worst time wasn't, I thought my worst time was when I had to give up work, but it wasn't. It was in more 2006, 2007, because in 2006 I ended up having 3 full days in bed any time I went out anywhere. And then, so really I ended up getting pretty much housebound and pretty much bedbound, where at my worst I was pretty much in bed all day, out of bed doing 2 10-minute tasks a day. So you can imagine that's pretty much the worst. And you sort of use that 10-minute task to do something like iron your husband's shirt for the next day or wash up or something. And everything was a blur in that time. I was very ill, walking around dizzy and very, not of pain, very, very ill. I mean, I don't believe the LDN's a cure-all because it's not the only thing I've been doing. My main palaver over the past 5 years has been sorting out thyroid treatment that actually works, and by which I mean having the leothyronine, the T3, because really the levothyroxine, all that really did was just stop me feeling like I was dying and not much else. So I've had a long palaver surrounding that, and different doctors to do with that, different doses, different combinations of things to do with that. So that's been what I thought was the most important thing, that and adrenal supplements at one point as well, that I thought that's the most important thing to get myself well. And then I thought, oh, I've still got some symptoms that the thyroid tablets weren't fixing, and with or without it, the symptoms were there. And so that's when the LDN started to do with the LDN a couple of years ago, because I was still having all the symptoms, and the main thing really was this muscle spasms or muscle solidness. What it was, I saw a neurophysio on the NHS, ages ago, and she said, oh yeah, you've got muscle spasm, and I would really refer it as what I'd call muscle solidness in the legs, where they'd feel really solid somehow, and they'd do loads of stretches and it wouldn't relieve it. So you'd like walk short distances and the legs would go really solid somehow, and I don't know, it was becoming very obvious that it was a separate thing from thyroid, because the pain I was getting from the thyroid was more like thyroid type pain. It was sort of 2 different lots of discomfort and things that were limiting me. So basically this is the side of it that the LDNs help with, you see. So yeah, I mean, so that's the, so I don't know really what's happening really, but that's the any more detail. But so yeah, I think it's definitely help with that.
Right. Okay.
So that's
how did you hear about LDN?
How did I hear about it? Dr. Wright in Bolton, who's a private ME doctor. That was because I went to an appointment with him because, as I said, I had some symptoms that were ongoing with or without the thyroid treatment. So I knew that it wasn't just that I had to worry about, and I wanted to take those other symptoms to the doctor. And so yeah, that was. I suppose he got me on the LDN because there was a lot of talk about that at the time, and but it wasn't totally new. I wasn't one of the first to go on it or anything. I think there was talk about it before then, but I wouldn't have been aware of it,
So did you notice any initial side effects when you started?
Yeah, what happened was, I think I had to, what I'd say to anybody is, if it makes you worse at first, just persevere with it and take it slowly. There's no rush to increase it, because there's all this thing about being on 3 mils or 4.5 mils. And really, I don't believe there's any rush in terms of building up to that. And what happened was, I'd find that certain symptoms it made worse initially, but those were the things that it'd help in the long run. So I just kind of, really, it was just more about So I didn't have any side effects in terms of feeling dizzy or sick or anything like that. Nothing like that. It was more to do with the muscles and really. So yeah, so I found that I just had to just take the time building up the dose, and I found that sometimes I just had to started even. I just found that I don't know, if you build up like a mil a week, it's just too much. So I started off say half a mil for a fortnight, and increased by no more than a quarter of a mil a fortnight. That is what I did to build it up. So half a mil for fortnight, 0.75 mils for fortnight, a mil for fortnight, just slightly above a mil, you know, and on it went like that to get up to 3 mils. For some reason, getting from 2 to 3 mils was difficult, and I did it a bit more slowly. Don't ask me why, but to get up to 4.5 mils was a total breeze. There was nothing to it. So it was getting up to the 3 mils was difficult, but getting up to the 4.5 there was nothing to it. That was dead easy for some reason.
Okay. So how long did it take before you noticed improvements?
It's gradual, so it's not that nothing. Yeah, it's gradual because I found that, you know, once I'd settled into a certain dose when I was building it up, I was noticing an improvement then. Yeah, so yeah, it was pretty gradual and pretty soon, really. Yeah.
So what are you able to do in a day now?
It's not so much what I'm able to do that I couldn't do. It's more doing things with more ease and more comfort in that respect, in terms of managing this. It's this muscle solidness and discomfort in that way. My legs feel more normal.
You were saying before that you were only able to do things like in 10-minute bursts.
Oh, well, that was, yeah, but I would say that the thyroid and adrenal treatment, you know, stopped me being as ill as that. That's my experience of it. But I'd say with the LDN, it's more this thing where the calves used to be very solid feeling and very, very solid in the muscles. So it seems to have relaxed the muscles. The LDN seems to have relaxed the muscles and makes them just feel more like normal real legs, not just solid bits of wood. It's basically like that. It's that's the main thing I think it's helped with. So yeah, it maybe helps the functioning a little bit in terms of, you know, I think somewhere along the lines when I was new to the LDN, I remember having to get up early for someone's christening, and it didn't feel too as much of a struggle as I expected. But I think the main thing is this muscle thing, really.
And do you have more energy?
I think it's hard to say. You know, I think if the main thing's the muscles and them not feeling so solid in my legs, really. But I mean, it probably helps. 10% energy-wise, maybe improvement. It's hard to say, but the biggest improvement is in the thing with my legs, really.
What would you say to other people who are thinking of trying LDN?
Yeah, I'd recommend it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
well, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us.
I mean, I just think in the end, I think with you've got something like ME or whatever, everything can get put down to that, and it's hard to get things sorted out. So I think people should be really aware that it's likely to be a private prescription, but you know, don't just look at it as a one thing to take. You know, other medications through your GP or other specialists, and try and sort other things out as well. Don't see it as a cure-all thing, but it might help with certain things, but not everything. That's how I'd recommend it. You know. You know, but definitely. I mean, I did try and get it after the GP, but you can't. I couldn't get an NHS prescription for it.
Okay.
Because it's all to do. They don't seem to fund unlicensed drugs. You know. Basically, you know, they seem to just prefer. You know, to me, you've got end up. You know, so you have to end up just funding it yourself. You know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do manage to get it on the NHS, which is great news, and more are getting it all the time. But thank you very much.
Yes, no, you're very welcome. Yeah, good.
Okay, I'll just end it there.